Well, hey there, and welcome to my channel. My name is Crafty Kathy, and I'm the owner and creator behind Kids Vintage Farmhouse in beautiful Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I am so happy and thankful that you chose to stop in and craft and spend a little time with me today. Now, I've been working on some vintage-inspired Halloween DIYs that I think you're really going to like. I got my items from Dollar Tree, Dollar General, and one of them I even pulled out of the garbage can, so it was absolutely free. I really like that because, my goodness, the price of things these days is outrageous. So I try to keep the price down for you guys as much as I possibly can. But without further ado, let's jump into these vintage-inspired Halloween DIYs and let me know what you think. For our very first, I saw the idea for my first DIY on Pinterest back in the summer, and I've been waiting 3 weeks to get this little wooden cat in the mail, and it finally arrived. Now, you're going to need a wreath. If you're lucky enough to find one of the willow wreaths from Dollar Tree, that's exactly what I would use. But I didn't have that option, so I went to the thrift store and I got this one for just $2.50. It had some old grubby flowers in it, but I didn't need those. I only needed the wreath. If you'll look, my wreath is made out of almost like twigs. But like I said, if you can find that one from the Dollar Tree that is made out of the material that kind of looks like a witch's broom, you're going to be doing even better. The twigs made it a little difficult to cut at times. It was just, you have to have patience and cut it. I suggest that you take 2 pipe cleaners like I did, wrap them around about where you want to cut at, and cut it at an angle. You're going to shape it like a moon. Now, I took some tie wraps and wrapped them really tight around those 2 areas. So number 1, I would know where to cut, and number 2, that way those twigs aren't going to separate. Now, I don't want to discourage you from making this wreath. By no means was this a difficult wreath. It actually was very easy. It just took probably 15 to 20 minutes to cut all those twigs because I had to cut them twig by twig. I used my wire cutters, and if I would have used my head, I probably could have come up with some other way to cut them that would have been quicker and possibly a little bit more enjoyable. I don't know. I just do things the way that I do it. Mama said I was hard-headed, and I see it more every day, y'all. So what I want to showcase from the Dollar Tree are these foxtail bushes. We call these cattails in the country, but Dollar Tree's calling them foxtails, so all right. Now, I didn't like this peach color. I took it outside, and I very, very lightly sprayed it, just like mist of orange spray paint. Y'all, look how beautiful. This is the color orange, and it is by Rust-Oleum 2 times. Y'all know that's my favorite. And then I'm just going to pop these right back down on the little stick that it came off of in the middle of the foxtail bush. I was just really amazed at how these transformed with just that little bit of spray paint. I mean, these are absolutely gorgeous, and they're not too tacky for Halloween, A lot of the Halloween decor is kind of tacky, and it can go too far sometimes. But I really like these. I would be proud to hang this on my door anytime. And I do want to point out that I took my wreath outside and I spray painted it black. Now, you guys know anytime that I'm talking about spray paint, I'm always talking about the Rust-Oleum 2 times. That's the only kind that I use. If I can find the matte, I always get it. This is a poinsettia that came out last year at Dollar Tree at Christmas. It was white and sparkly. I spray painted it black. And then these little twigs, I got these off of Amazon last year, and they are in my Amazon store in case you want some. So let's put this wreath together. The first thing that I did is just clip each little piece of the foxtail bush apart. I always like to do my flowers in uneven numbers, and since there was 3 little cattails on each bush, that's what we're going to go with. Now, I do know that I wanted one to be just a little bit longer, one kind of a medium length coming down that wreath, and one shortest.
And so I didn't put these in any particular way. You see how I'm just placing them in there, and I didn't even have to use glue. Since this is made from like twigs, since my wreath is made from twigs, you can basically just kind of shove it up in there and it stays there. Now, if you're worried that yours may fall out or something, you can put a little dab of glue where it goes in at, and it's not going to hurt a thing. Then I focused my attention toward the top part of the wreath because I want to do basically the same thing. I want one of those foxtails to stick out a little bit further, one kind of medium length, and then one back. I left the green leaves on here, and those little, I guess those are supposed to be like little twigs of, I really don't know what they are, to be honest with you, but I felt that it looked best to keep it on there. And then I took my little black poinsettia flower there, and I stuck it right in the center of those two. And I just took some scissors and kind of gave those little twiggy parts like a haircut, because I didn't, like I said, I didn't really know what they were or what their purpose was, but I felt like if I cut them down a little bit that they would look a little better, and I feel like I was right on that one. The next thing that I did was grab this orange eucalyptus, and since it was so bright, what I wanted to do is kind of almost hide it underneath the cattails. I didn't want it to look like it was a focal point or anything. I almost just kind of wanted it to be in the background. And so I just kind of stuck it in just the same way that I did the others and covered them up with the cattails. I cut the ends off of the tie wraps, and I flipped that area around to the back so you couldn't see it where you connect them together. This is a pick from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use this black rose that's on it. I'm just going to place it kind of right underneath where that black poinsettia is. It sounds so funny to say black poinsettia. But anyways, I'm also going to use these black and gray. They're kind of like little beads. And then I'm going to use this little frizzle piece, this orange shiny piece, and everything just goes right down into that wreath. I didn't use any glue whatsoever. Then I have these two orange flowers. I know they're from Dollar Tree, but I'm really not sure what kind they are. And so I'm just going to stick one up on the top and one underneath the bottom of that middle section. I have this spider that came off of that pick from just a minute ago where I used the black rose. I'm just going to take some of my liquid patina, put it on the body of the spider, and then sprinkle some of this orange glitter right over it. And then just set it to the side and let it dry. I've got these small orange ornaments, and they are from Dollar Tree also. I want to use the one with the glitter right in the middle of this poinsettia. And the reason why I want the one with the glitter is because my spider has the glitter, and I thought that it just kind of tied in with it. And I'm also going to use the part that you would naturally hang that ornament with. I'm putting it down so you can't see it. And I want to put a couple of clusters of these ornaments on this wreath. Now, there's 3 different textures on these ornaments, so I'm going to do a cluster of 3. I'm going to stick 3 of them down underneath that center part, and then 3 of them are going to be in a cluster over that poinsettia part. I'm going to take my favorite DIY paint in the color Black Velvet, and I'm going to paint my little wood piece, which is a kitty cat pawing at something. And I will leave the shop from Etsy that I got this from. Now, I've got a wood cutter at the house, but it doesn't cut pieces this thick, and I really wanted a good solid piece. I'm going to take a piece of this black hemp cord. I get this at the Dollar General. I wound it around my finger about 3 or 4 times and then kind of pull it taut to make like a little knot in there like you do when you're sewing. And then I'm going to just glue that right underneath that spider on the body part. And the only way that I could think in my mind to get that to stay was to stick a button over the top of it. That way the glue would be attached to that button, and I know that that string's not going to go anywhere. Then I'm just going to tie my spider in a knot right up at the top where that zip tie is. Then the very last thing that I did is got my little kitty cat and I glued him to the bottom part of the wreath. Now, just to make sure, I painted one of the tumbling tower blocks black and placed that behind him just for a little added security. And I think that my piece turned out cuter than the Pinterest piece. Let me know what you think. DIY number 2 is very simple, but it turns out so good, y'all. I got some of the rub-on transfers, of course, from the Dollar Tree, and at my store there was 2 different ones. And then we're going to use one of these terrariums. Now, this is the best one if you can get a hold of these. They're terrarium planter. The other 2 pieces that I have are just some snow globes that come out every Christmas at the Dollar Tree. If you've never used the rub-on transfers before, they're super easy. You just cut out which one you want. And I cut out this ghost. I'm going to put him on this little window on the terrarium. And then you just use your fingernail and kind of rub over the top of it and then just peel it off. And then I use my finger to make sure that I absolutely have him stuck down on there really well. Then on one of the snow globe pieces, I'm going to cut out this piece that just simply says, "Hooray for Halloween." It's going to go right in the center. And the way that I can tell you to get these off where they all come off and not just pieces of it is to stick down that center part first and use your fingernail on it, and then just kind of go to the left side and use your fingernail and then go to the right side. That's how I do it to help me, because when you're working on a rounded surface like this, it's very easy to like get bubbles almost up underneath them, and then your transfer won't look right. It'll come off in pieces. And then I'm going to cut off this cute little black cat and the cauldron, and it's just going to go on the other snow globe. And you can see me here starting off right in the center, then working my way out and being very careful, because these are from Dollar Tree and they are very easy to mess up if you're not careful with it. So I just went through all 3 of these little pieces, and I would kind of put a little bat here, a pumpkin there, just whatever I thought was cute along the way. And I want to take just a quick second to invite you to become a part of our family here on YouTube. All you have to do is hit that little red subscribe button and you're in the family, and we would love to have you. Also, if you are enjoying this video, please give me a big thumbs up. That is the best thing that you can do to help out my channel, and I appreciate you so much for doing that for me. Now I'm going to take all my pieces outside and spray paint them black. I'm going to take the bottom of those 2 snow globes, and then I have a couple of tops that goes on like bath and body candles. It doesn't have to be that specific kind, just any kind of candle top. And then I've got a couple of like candlesticks that I think that these would look really good sitting on top of. And while those pieces are drying, I'm just going to grab my glow-in-the-dark glitter tool, and I just have to tell you that I think the purple looks best, but both colors are gorgeous. I just opened it up and kind of folded it out. You don't have to do this in any particular way. Trust me, it turns out looking so good any way you do. I will tell you, you may not need to put too much, because actually the less you put, the better it looks. And then on this terrarium, there's that little hanger on the back, and it comes off by just unscrewing it. And you see, I just grab my tool and kind of stick it up inside the terrarium and use my fingers to kind of fan it out in a way to where all of the sides are going to be covered. And I did that on all 3 pieces. And beware, this does shed a lot of glitter, so just make sure that you've got some kind of little device. These little vacuums are amazing, by the way, to suck up all that glitter. I've got this one tagged in my Amazon store in case you're looking for a good one. This one is even stronger than the little ladybug one. I took one of my little 1-inch ribbons. This one has like different little Halloween stuff on it. And I'm going to place it along the bottom of one of my little snow globes. And then I just place the top right back on it. You can use any ribbon you like. These are some of the ones that I have that I'm using. On the next one, I'm going to take this very light, almost like a see-through orange. I think it's got like a spider web pattern to it, and it's going to go around the bottom of another one of the snow globes, and then I'm going to stick the top on it. I wanted to show you these little lights that I got off of Amazon. There's 12 of them in a box, and they were only like $8.99. That's way cheaper than Dollar Tree. And they came in a light purple color, a dark purple, a green, a blue, a bright white, and a like a yellowy white. And I'm thinking, I'm not really sure, but they came in so many different colors, and they're well worth the money. I always use these kind of lights over Dollar Tree any day. I also have these tagged in my Amazon store in case you want some of those. In the orange one, I put the bright white, and then I also put some blue in there because I didn't have an orange in this pack. My favorite one was the dark purple along with the purple tulle. And then in the other one, I put a light purple with the purple tulle. Now I've just got my little candlestick here, and I'm going to take my Bath and Body Works top, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on there and stick it on. I don't want mine to be permanent, and that's why I'm using just hot glue. But if you want yours to be absolutely permanent, make sure to use some E6000 or some of that Fix-All adhesive from the Dollar Tree. Then I grabbed my purple ribbon, and I'm going to go around the top of this where that lid meets the top of the candlestick, so you can't see that there's a difference there, that there's two pieces placed together. Now for the terrarium top, I'm not going to glue that down at all because there would be no way that I could turn my globe off and on at night. So I'm just going to set it up there. And here is the light purple color that I told you that I placed inside the other purple tulle. I've got these two tall, skinny candle holders that I got from the Dollar Tree a couple of months ago. They're like the little metal ones. One of them is slightly taller than the other, which I think looks really good. And for the last finishing touches, I'm going to take one of these spiders that came out of a pack from the Dollar Tree and place it on the biggest candle holder. And then two of these little witch hats. They're little felt stickers that are out right now also. I hope you like this one. Now we're moving right into DIY number 3. We're going to need one of those glass plates that goes with the candles at the Dollar Tree, of course. I got these skeletons at the Dollar General for $1 a piece. This is just a candle lid, and then I also have a candle holder, and I spray painted both of those black. I'm also going to take this lid outside and spray paint it black along with that candle plate from the Dollar Tree. I wasn't sure which lid I wanted to use with that candle holder yet. When I finally chose which lid I wanted, I'm just going to glue it down on the top of that candle holder. Now I'm going to use hot glue because I don't want mine to be permanent. However, if you do want your pieces to be permanent, make sure that you either use that Fix-All adhesive from the Dollar Tree, that's this stuff, or you can use the E6000. But I think that Fix-All adhesive is some really good stuff. I grab my 3 skeletons and I'm going to set them up first on top of the little candle holder just to see exactly the placement that I want them. And when I figured out where I want them, I'm just going to get my glue and put a little bit on each one of their bottoms, and that's all that I'm going to need to hold them together right now. The next step is to take some glue and put some on each of the heads of the skeletons, and then I'm just going to place that glass candle piece down over the top of it. One of my subscribers told me last week when I used 3 of those skeletons that I really needed to put one of those Dollar Tree plates on the top to make a little candle holder, but you know I couldn't stop there. I got this little spinner and I ordered mine off of Amazon. I put it on the bottom of like my plates and things like that so that I can spin them around. I'm just going to use hot glue on it also because like I said, I don't want mine to be permanent. So I put that down and put my candle holder right on the top of it. So not only do we have like a little skeleton candle holder, but ours will have the ability to spin. I hope you like it. And thank you so much for your inspiration, Paige. I love you, girl. We're moving right into the last DIY of the day. This one is super easy and fast. I got these boxes at the Dollar Tree, but it's been about a year ago, and I haven't seen them since, but that doesn't mean you can't find any. I've seen these things at the thrift store a lot, actually. I'm just going to take my 2 DIY paint colors. One is Summer Crush, and that's that beautiful orange color. The other one is my favorite Black Velvet. And if you guys want to try out any of these DIY paints, my friend Lori sells them at www.miltonsdaughter.com. And if you use the code CraftyCathy10, you get 10% off your first order. And she also has discounts for returning customers. If you've ever used DIY paint, then you know. It's just the best paint. It's my favorite paint that I've ever used. It's amazing, and there's nothing else on the market like it. I always like to show it off whenever I get my heat tool out so I can dry it down, because it always dries lighter than the color that you put on, which I absolutely love that. It's almost like magic before your eyes. And I also failed to mention that I colored the inside of these boxes too, because I'm going to be selling these and I don't want anybody to see that brown color down inside. So I just painted the whole box. I bought these little cards off of Etsy. You just buy the actual little print here and print it off at home yourself. And I printed mine onto cardstock. But I thought these were the cutest little Halloween girls. I am so in love with these. They were only like $2 or $3. And then these are just prints that I have bought off of Etsy also and created like cardstock out of them. I'll leave all that information in the description box below in case you want to go and buy some of these little cards or some of these little prints for yourself. I cut all 8 of those little pictures out, and then I took that cardstock that just had the print on it. I'm going to cut it down into 2-inch strips because we're going to make some rosettes. However, I do have this polka dotted rosette left over from last week's DIYs, so I'm going to use it on one of my boxes, and that means I only need to make 1 rosette. Now, the way that you make the rosettes are super easy. Like I said, I just cut this cardstock into 2-inch strips. We're only going to need 2 of the strips that we cut there. And to make these vintage rosettes, they're so easy. I thought there was going to be something tough to it until I made one for the first time last week. All you do is fold it almost like a fan. You fold it on one side and then flip it over and fold it on the other side. I don't think it really matters exactly how big you fold it, but the smaller the fold, the more little creases or like little wrinkles you're going to have in your rosette. The way that I did mine was make 2 of these little sets of like fans that I was telling you about. And then all I'm going to do is just pull them together to create a circle and then put a little bit of glue to hold them together on the sides. And then of course you just have to hold it there for a second, just long enough for that glue to dry so it won't pop back off. And you've got the cutest little rosette. See how simple that was? Now I'm going to take this little polka dotted rosette and I'm going to stick it right on the front of my box. I just used a little bit of hot glue to do that. And then I just put a little bit of hot glue on the back of one of my little cards and stuck her on there. And I did the exact same thing on the black box. But as soon as I had put these little girls on there on the cards, I realized they are a hair bit too big. And so I just slightly cut them down just around the edges so that I could have a little bit more room and that you could see that rosette just a little bit more. And I couldn't find my black rickrack to save my life. But last week at Walmart, I found this orange ribbon for just 47 cents, and that's not on clearance. That's its regular price. It's this really thin ribbon, which is exactly what you need to go around these pictures to make them just beautiful. All I did was just cut out the little size strips and place it around there, and I just used my glue stick, and it actually stuck really well. Then I just added a little bit of glue to the back of my little girls there, and I'm going to place them right over the top of the rosette. On the orange box, I decided not to do her the exact same way. So all I did there was just cut off a piece of the ribbon, one for the top and one for the bottom, and that's all I placed on her. And I also used a glue stick to put those pieces on. That's pretty much all I did on this DIY. I just added a little bit of tulle down inside these, and I added one of those little packs of lights that I showed you earlier, the colored lights, and a little pick out the top of it. And I think these turned out so adorable. And if you stuck with me through this whole video, I just want to say thank you so much. And I really do appreciate you for stopping in and spending some time and crafting with me today. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd like to ask you to please give me the big thumbs up. That's the like button, because it really helps me out on YouTube. And you don't know how much I appreciate you for doing that. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, what in the world are you waiting for? Hit that little red button. You know I want you to be right here by my side every step of the way. And right now, my videos come out every Monday and Thursday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you hit that little bell beside the subscribe button, I'm doing DIY number 2. And by the way, I've taken the microphone off, so if you think this sounds better, let me know. I've got one of these signs from Dollar Tree that says Boo, and I'm going to paint it with my DIY paint in the color Beadboard. It's an off-white color, and I'm not trying to get like a perfect coat here. I'm just kind of really sloppily painting it. You know, I wish I was one of those DIYers that could set everything out before I begin and say, we're going to use this and this and this in this DIY. But I am so not that person. Like, I just grab something like this sign and I start going. I never know where it's going to end up or what I'm going to do, but I had so much fun tinkering around with this DIY. I got the idea to take just a little bit of Mod Podge. I'm going to put it all over the sign, and I'm going to try to get this tool to stick to it. At first, I thought that the glue stick might be able to hold down the tool, but that was a huge fail. It does not hold this tool down. I don't know what I was thinking, but hey, the glue stick holds everything else down, so I thought, why not try it? But anyways, I just coated it with the Mod Podge, and I laid 2 layers of that orange tool down, and I like the way that it looks. It just gives it a little bit of glitter and pizzazz here and there. Now here's what it looks like after I got my 2 layers of tool on there. And you know, I have hit the tool with a heat gun before and noticed that it shrunk. And in my mind, I was thinking about, you know how you do the napkins and you can burn that napkin to get the inner pieces out of there? I thought, I bet I could do that with some heat on this tool. So that's what I did, was I held up my heat gun all around that word boo, and it just kind of melted onto it. Now, just FYI, the heat gun was on low because I didn't want to totally just mess this up. I was trying to be careful, but I would hold it close, like inside right there, the O and the B's, you know, the holes there, and it just kind of melted it around exactly where I wanted it to. If there was too much overhang in some spots, all I did was just took my scissors and cut it off, and it actually came out really neat looking. But like I said, I never know how it's going to end up. I can't tell you how I create things. I just do it. Now, I've got these 2 little skeletons, and I got these at the Dollar General. They came in a pack of 5, and they're actually a little garland. You see, they've got the little hangers on their heads. And I wanted to take these 2 and turn them into a debonair gentleman and a gorgeous lady with much finesse. So the first thing that I did was just cut their little hangers off the top of their head because we're not going to need those. And now it's time for the fun part. And guys, I spent way too much time dressing these guys up, but like I said, I had fun. I got these little cupcake liners off of Amazon the other day. There was 600 in the pack, and I don't know what I'm going to do with 600, but I'll figure something out. I just cut a little diamond shape in the middle because I thought that I could slide it over her body and get it over those hips. You know, us ladies have those thick hips for birthing. So I had to make sure that it would go around her properly and just make the cutest little skirt. And it just looks like it flares out just like a little 50s dress, like it's got a crinoline under it, and she's so cute. So I did put a couple of little dabs of glue here and there, just where I thought that it needed it to hold her dress in place. See, she's got her little legs crossed because she's a proper Southern lady. It's probably no surprise to you that I love my Southern ladies. I think Scarlett O'Hara is the prettiest thing I've ever laid my eyes on, and Gone with the Wind is my favorite movie. I used to love to dress up like her at Halloween, and boy, I thought I was something back in the day. Now here I'm just making a little halter top for our proper lady because she has to be covered. She doesn't show anything because, I mean, that's what a proper lady does. They're very modest. They know that you don't have to show skin. It's what's inside that matters, and it's your personality that makes you gorgeous. Even though she has no skin, she's only bones, she's going to be just this beautiful little lady, you'll see. So all I did was put a little bit of glue on the rib cage, and that was enough to hold her little halter top on. And I'm just putting glue where I need, and I had to stop and put my finger protectors on because I was burning the far out of my fingers, and I don't want to do that. And our little lady wouldn't want me to do that either. So I'm just adding the glue, like I said, where I need to. Then I'm going to take just a small piece of this cupcake liner. I mean the tiniest little cut. And I'm just kind of rolled it up. And you know, these cupcake liners can be kind of stiff when you roll them up like that. And that's what I wanted because I'm creating kind of like a little collar to go around her halter top. That way her gorgeous bone structure can be seen. I'm just sticking glue there on the sides of her little like shoulder bones to hold this on. Now I know I'm not the only one that has a thing for like Scarlett O'Hara, so you guys let me know what's your favorite movie. I mean, it can be Halloween if that's because that's what we're doing anyways, but I mean just like your favorite movie. It doesn't matter what it is. Give me some good suggestions. It's been forever since I've actually sat down and watched a movie. I'm just that kind of person that I have to be doing something, as you know, it's usually crafts or something like that just to keep myself busy. I was going to put a hat on her, but I thought, come on, this is a Crafty Kathy video. She's going to have a Crafty Kathy hairband. Like, I mean, are you serious? I don't know what I was thinking. Of course, these are my favorite things in the world to wear because not only do I love my Southern ladies, but I'm way into like vintage, you know, dress, and that's why I wear the headbands because they take me back to like the 50s and 60s. I love the crinoline under the dresses. I love all of that, and that's the reason why I wear the hairbands. Like, I just started wearing them one day, and now I have every color, every pattern that you can imagine. So that's all I'm doing for her is I put like a little band around, and then I made like a little bow, I guess you could say, and flipped it up so it would look right. I mean, you gotta admit, this little headband is just the cutest thing I have ever seen. And I love that her whole outfit was matching. At first, I was going to do different cupcake liners, but I thought, no. This lady has got to be matching and from head to toe, and she is just so cute. And I'm so sorry that you can hear Roxy barking in the background, but my husband is outside the door, and he's singing, and it's driving her crazy, and she's definitely a daddy's girl, and she does this special bark, and it's her come get me bark, so that he's supposed to know to open the door and bring her outside. She's just going nuts. Now anyways, let's get started on our little man, and he's really quick and easy. All I did with him was use that same print so that they would be matching, that same cupcake liner, and I just kind of like twisted it in the middle to make a little bow tie. So I'm going to stick his bow tie right in the front, and then he just gets a simple little hat. And for the hat, you see, I literally just took a small piece and kind of rolled it around itself and glued it so it would make almost like a little circle. And then I'm going to take the middle part of the cupcake liner, which is circular. I'm going to cut that out, and that's going to be like the brim of his hat. I'm sorry that I'm kind of in and out of frame right here. I thought I was totally in frame, but apparently I wasn't. So all I did was just glue that little top part of the hat down to the bottom part. And then this is just going to go on his little head. Like I said, I just wanted to keep him simple because she's the star of the show. Then the way that I got these guys to sit down in here was their little legs, like at the joints, you literally have to kind of like break them so that they will move the right way. But what I did was I set him in that first O. I just put down a lot of glue in it and put like his pelvic area right there so it would stick. And he's just kind of waving. And then our little girl, I'm going to sit her down in that bottom O. And like I said before, she's a proper lady, so she's going to have her little legs crossed, and she's just so cute. And her little arms are going to be folded in her lap. So basically, the way that I got them to sit down was to glue their bottoms inside that O. And then, like at their back area, I just put a little bit of glue there. And that way, their upper torso could be glued to the other part. And they're not going anywhere. Now, I'm making this little sign for my grandson. He is absolutely going to love this. It's kind of cartoonish. It's not really what you would call like high-end decor or anything like that, but it sure is fun to make stuff like this from time to time. It's just whimsical and fun and cute. And I don't know about you, but I think her headband is to die for. That is the cutest little thing. I think she's so sweet. So now it's time to finish this piece up. I grabbed some of these little bat rings from the Dollar Tree, and I just clipped the little part off the back of them because I love the size of the bat. It's really easy to pop on stuff and make it cute. And then I just popped a couple little bats here and there. And I couldn't help but feel like there's something missing, like it just wasn't totally ready. So I pulled out one of my little string lights. Now, I get these off of Amazon. They're in my Amazon store if you want some. I think you get like 15 in a pack for like $12 or something. Or they equal out to be only like $1 per light. And I absolutely love them because they have, I don't know how many lights on there. There's at least 20. And the wire makes it very easy to like get around stuff. Like here you see I'm maneuvering this wire. I'm just putting a little bit of glue, and that glue doesn't burn the wire or anything. It holds it in place exactly where I need it. And I just kind of wrapped it around this sign a few times because I thought that my grandson would love this and love to be able to turn it on at nighttime on his front door. And the little battery pack is so small on these, it's very easy to hide it on the back of your DIY. And you always place it where you can change those batteries if you need to. I love these guys so much, I'm going to play that sweet little love song that y'all like so much.
She thinks I'm a little lazy, I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she'd flash every police car, drinking wine and getting tired, and shooting out the damn street lights. How does she put up with me? Oh, baby, we got our own thing.
I thought you guys might get a kick out of that, and so many of y'all just absolutely love that song. It is quite funny. So on the last one, I'm going to use some of these little Etsy pictures again, and they're just really easy and quick. You know, you just pay a couple of dollars to the lady and you print them off at your own home and print them on whatever you want. I wish I would have printed them on rice paper, but I didn't. Now, what I'm going to do is just pick this little witch here, the one that's got the pumpkin in front of her. I'm going to put her on this small little plaque that I got from the Dollar General yesterday. I only paid $2 for it. And the picture that's on it originally is perfectly fine. So I figured what we would do is just kind of make this, you know, double-sided. So whichever side you want to set out, you can. I'm just taking the sticker off. And I do want this little witch at the bottom that's got the pumpkin and the cat. So I pulled the plaque off of the bottom piece so I could trace and get the exact pattern. And I do not know why, but I decided to use my pinking shears to go around her because I thought that I was going to use that as some kind of flare. That's like I said, I never know what I'm going to do until I get there. So anyways, I cut it out in the shape that it goes on. Then I grabbed the liquid patina in the color Dark and Decrepit, which is kind of like a really dark brown color. I don't really want a lot of color on this because you're not really going to see it. I just want to make sure that the edges don't show. And so I went over it real quick with the liquid patina with the dark and decrepit. I let it dry, and I'm just going to use double-sided tape. Now, I use this double-sided tape a lot, especially if there's something that I don't want to be permanent. Like if I want to, I can take this picture off and, no harm, no foul. So all I'm doing is just putting my sticky tape on there, and I'm going to place it on my sign. I had just a little bit of overhang in a couple of spots, so I grabbed my finger sander to straighten that out. And then for my favorite part, I decided I wanted to glitter her up. Like I said, at Halloween and Christmas, I love to use glitter, but the rest of the year, it's just not for me. But I just like the pizzazz and the whimsy that it adds to all this cute little decor, especially the vintage decor. So I just went around with my Mod Podge and just kind of framed it out, and I used my Dollar Tree glitter to cover it. And I love this Dollar Tree glitter. It's the perfect size, and the color is just gorgeous. Then I just popped a little bit of hot glue down in that hole that I pulled it out of, and I pushed it back in there. And as I did that, I messed up a little bit of the glitter at the top, but that's okay because we can fix it. I just added a little bit more Mod Podge and a little bit more glitter. Then I pulled out my clickable stamps. I got these at Michael's. That's the only place I've been able to find them, and I love these clickable stamps. They're small and they actually click together. That way you don't have to worry about your word being uneven or looking all kabobbled or anything. It's always perfect. And since it was such a small area, all I could do was the word Halloween. And I put it on one of those tiny little pieces of the cotton muslin that I was showing you earlier. I love that muslin because I like the raggedy look of it, and it's just so quick and easy to pop on your projects. And then I just glued the word Halloween across the bottom. Then I took one of these little foam pieces that I got from Dollar Tree. It's got like, the orange glittery ornaments on it, and then some with some other type of like glitter. And I just put an orange one on there and a black one, and I stuck one of those little bats on the front of the orange one. Then to finish it up and add a little pizzazz, I literally just tied a knot in the middle of some tulle, and I glued that tulle down on the very back, and then I just used just a couple of little drops of glue up the back of this sign. That way the tulle would kind of be flaring out and just give it a little something extra. I took my scissors and kind of cut it so it would kind of be whimsical and kind of flying everywhere. I hope you like her. This is the inspiration for my very first project. I've been watching a lady named Monica on Up All Night DIY. I'm going to leave her information in the description box and in the comments because I want y'all to go show her some love. I absolutely fell in love with this guy when I saw him. Y'all know how much I love my vintage Halloween. Well, she created Pumpernickel. He is a jack-o'-lantern jack-in-the-box. And when I saw him, I knew I had to recreate him. Now, I don't want to copy him exactly, but I did take inspiration from him. However, I came up with a whole backstory. Mine is going to be Pumpernickel's cousin from Tennessee, and he's kind of crazy about moonshine. He gets a little wild sometimes. I've got a whole story I've got to tell you while I'm doing the DIY. But first, let me show you what you're going to need to create him. You're going to need some clay. I grabbed this Crayola air dry clay because it was cheap. Please don't use it. I'm going to tell you what to use. Then you're going to need one of these floral cones. I grabbed two because I wasn't sure what size I was going to use. I used the smaller one, and it's from Dollar Tree. You're going to need just a little foam pumpkin from the Dollar Tree, and you're also either going to need some type of a crate or a box that he's going to sit in. That's going because he's a jack-in-the-box. So I just used an old crate, okay? Now, the way that I figure that I went wrong is Monica uses the Crayola Model Magic. I used Crayola Air Dry Clay, and it was the worst clay I've ever used in my life. I just have to throw that out there. You guys that watch me know that I like the DOS or the DAS clay, but I thought, hey, this is really cheap, and it was on Amazon, and I could remember that she used Crayola in her video, so I was thinking that I got the right thing, but it wasn't. My jack-o'-lantern fell apart 2 times, like absolutely a puddle of clay fell apart 2 times, but the 3rd time's a charm, so let me show you how I made him. After I created a mess 2 times, the 3rd time I was like, okay, I'm going with the clay that I know will not fail me. I know that DOS is a little bit more expensive. I think it's about $9 for 2 pounds, which isn't a lot more expensive, but it's well worth the peace of mind knowing that your project's going to come out right and you're not going to have to recreate it. So I ended up using DOS, and this is what I did. You have to move it around and just kind of warm it up in your hands for a few minutes. And then I grabbed my brayer so that I could roll out a piece that's going to be big enough to fit over my little pumpkin there. Then I took that whole sheet of clay that I just did and literally laid it on the top of that foam pumpkin. I took the stem out, by the way, laid it on top of that whole foam pumpkin, and I just kind of used my hands to shape it and form it over the top of the pumpkin. Now, when I used that Crayola clay, it was very, very hard to shape it and maneuver it and mold it. But with my trusty old DOS clay, it was so much easier. Like I could literally see the grooves of that pumpkin whenever I would push down. And so it was so easy to make the grooves. I kind of rolled it around, made sure that I had good connection. Now, it doesn't matter if you don't cover up that whole bottom because that part's going to be covered up anyway, the part that's still orange down there. The rest of it, you just use your hands, and if you need to use maybe like a little squirt of water or even wet your hands, do that, and that will help you to shape it and put all those little pumpkin ribs in there. I also took the end of a paintbrush, like a smaller paintbrush, and used that to go down inside those ribs. That way they would be really accentuated, and you could really tell that it's a pumpkin's head. I worked on that just for a few minutes, and this is what I came up with when I was finished with that. Now we're going on to make his body. I grabbed some more of the clay and I kneaded it around in my hands. I grabbed my brayer and I'm just going to roll it out. Then I'm just going to take my clay and I'm going to lay it over the top of that floral foam. Remember I told you I got that floral foam from the Dollar Tree. I cut off the bottom, maybe 2/3 of it there, and all I'm doing is using my hands to make sure that it's all covered. I would squirt a little bit of water every once in a while just to kind of smooth out the clay to make sure it didn't have a lot of wrinkles or bumps in it, but that also kind of gives it character if you think about it. And then I would kind of roll it around on that wax paper there so that it would get on there and have a really good, nice adhesion. Then I took 3 toothpicks and I stuck them down inside that floral foam, and I'm literally going to just stick that in the bottom of the pumpkin. And so now we have the head of our jack-o'-lantern and his body once I put it down on top of there. The next thing I'm going to do is create his little arms, and I just took one larger piece of clay and rolled it out, and then I'm just going to cut it in half, and I'm going to keep the hat. Now, remember I told you that I made my pumpkin before and all of it cracked. The hat was okay though. I'm going to keep his hat that I originally made, but the rest of it I had to totally redo. I would just squirt a little bit of water on the ends of these, which are his arms, and to kind of round it off to make it look like little hands. And then I would use like those skewers from Dollar Tree because they're a little bit longer than the toothpick. I stuck it down in the sides, and then I stuck one in the side of the pumpkin so that his arm would have something to kind of grab it up top. Because you want his arms to go up beside his head like a little jack-in-the-box would do, like his arms are up in the air like, boo, you know what I mean? Like he's popping up out of his little box. So I found it was easier to stick those little skewers in the side of the pumpkin just to hold the very top of his little arms up so that they wouldn't fall out. And I did that for both arms. I cut the ends of the skewers off, and I used that to attach the bottom part of his arm, and then I would cut another piece of the skewer off and stick that in the side of that pumpkin to hold the very tops of what would be his hands, I guess you could say. So it looks like the little jack-o'-lantern is going boo and sticking his little hands up in the air. And this hat that you see here, like I said, the first 2 times I tried to make this guy, I did make his hat with the Crayola air dry clay, and it didn't crack, thank God. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just keeping that. However, I did add 3 toothpicks to the top of his head to hold his hat in place. I took a bottle cap and I pushed it into the top of the clay, which is going to be his eyes. And then I took a clay tool that I have, which just has like a little rounded edge on it, and I pushed that into the place where his nose would be. Then I just rolled out 2 small, thin pieces of clay to go around where I just put the little bottle cap around his eyes, because we want him to be very carnival-like and almost, it reminds me of like Tim Burton, Nightmare Before Christmas. That's the kind of guy that I want to recreate. Now, remember I told y'all that Monica's pumpkin's name is Pumpernick. Well, mine is Bumperdick. And I don't mean that in an ugly way, so don't think that I'm trying to cuss on my channel or trying to talk ugly on my channel, but I did have to come up with a name that rhymed with Pumpernick. And the whole backstory came because when I created the first one and he fell apart, I was like, he just looks like an old drunk from a bar stool. And that's how I got the whole backstory. So I guess mine is his cousin from Tennessee, Bumperdick. And like I said, don't take that in the wrong way, but there's not a lot of names that rhyme with Nick. And I know Dick rhymes with Nick, so I was like, that's the only name I could think of. So, to make his mouth, I made 2 long pieces like snake-like formations, and I brought them up because I wanted him to have a really big, like cheesy grin, you know, like a Cheshire cat. You know what I mean? Like just a big old cheesy huge grin. So I brought his mouth up together, and so far this is Bumperdick. Now I know from using the DAS clay in the past that one of the best ways that you know that clay's not going to crack, which it doesn't crack easily, but is to go ahead and paint it when it's wet. You can do that with the DOS clay. So that's exactly what I decided to do. I wasn't going to take a chance with this guy cracking anymore. I mean, I already had 2 failed attempts where he was cracking and just, you know, it just fell into like a puddle of clay, and I was like, that's not going to happen again. Now, Monica uses all these neat colors, and I did use acrylic paint, which y'all know I always use chalk paint, but I used acrylic paints because that's what she used. I tried to find the exact colors that she used. I went to Hobby Lobby, and they didn't have any of them. I don't know what the deal was. So the color that I ended up painting him is called Pumpkin, and it's by what I'm assuming is Hobby Lobby's name brand. It's called Anita's. That's the name of their acrylic paint. And I couldn't find the summer sunset that she used and the burnt orange, all the neat colors she had. And she also blends her colors. And I'm not used to doing that, so I was a little bit afraid to blend. I didn't want to mess him up because I'd already messed him up 2 times before, you know. And I just wanted to make this little Jack-in-the-Box so bad. I didn't want to like take the chance to totally destroy him. So here I'm just taking that acrylic paint by Anita's, and it's called Pumpkin. I went around his head. I did the tops of his hands because he's going to have on a jacket. He is a very fashionable man, even though he's a drunk and he likes moonshine. He also likes to chase ladies, but we won't talk about that right now. I got a new set of paintbrushes at Hobby Lobby, which there's nothing like getting a new set of paintbrushes. I absolutely love to get those. And I went around his nose. If I ever messed up and kind of got the color on his lips or like where his teeth are going to be or somewhere where it's not supposed to be, I just waited till it dried and then went over it with the correct color. So his whole head is orange and the little tops of his hands is going to be orange. And his nose area is orange for now. The next thing that I did was I painted his little eye sockets white. I painted what is going to be his teeth, so the whole area inside his lips is white. And then I painted the very front part of him white, like his body down there. And I did the same thing here too. If there was any part where I messed up and got the paint somewhere where it's not supposed to be, I would wait for it to dry and then just paint over it the correct color. The next thing I did was painted his hat black, and I'm just using like the apple barrel black paint. Nothing special, it's just acrylic paint in the little bottles that's like the apple barrel. The very next thing that I did is take a color by Folk Art called Pewter Gray. I could not find the rain gray that she used, and I went around his eyes, and then I also went around his lips with this. Now, it is a darker gray that I'm using, but I did like the contrast along with the black and the orange and the whites. I thought that it really did look good with all those other colors. As I went around his eyes and went around his lips, I was going really slow. Like I have the video really sped up right now, and it almost looks like I'm in just regular motion. That just shows you how careful I was trying to be as I was painting around all these little smaller areas. But it's no big deal if you do get paint somewhere where you don't want to get it. Just kind of let it dry and then just paint right back over it with the color that you want. Then I took the apple barrel color that's just regular black, and I started painting his coat. I left a little area up at the very top white because he's going to have cuffs. This is going to be like a little nice evening jacket, you know, and he's got like the white sleeves that are emerging from underneath. When I got up to the front area of his jacket, what I did was take a smaller, like thinner paintbrush and make almost like a V. You see how I'm doing this? Just kind of almost like I'm making an arrow or something. I did that on both sides, and you see how it just created what looks like his little jacket being open. And then I used that very thin paintbrush again to make little stripes down the front. I started off wanting to create my eyes just like Monica does. And I used like those little dabbers or daubers, whatever you call them, that I got off of Amazon, and I put it in that pewter gray. Monica does the gray and then like a smaller white and then a gray, I think is how she does it. But I got an idea to make Bumperdick a little bit different. And then I also, still using that smaller paintbrush, I created just little eyebrows for him. And then a very, very thin brush to create his teeth. I mean like a very thin brush to create his teeth. I just went across with the line, and then I'm just going to go straight up and down for his teeth. I got a really cool idea on what I wanted to do for his eyes and kind of make him more Crafty Cathy style. But in the meantime, I had to correct his smile and his eyes. I had just kind of made a mess. So don't feel like you're a total failure if you literally have to just do several things over and over. It's just like, you know, you learn as you go. And this is the first time I've done this, and I really had to give myself grace on this because I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to stuff like this. And I just had to keep reminding myself, Kathy, this is the first time you've done it. Just chill. One of my amazing subscribers, Paige, and she has become a really good friend of mine, sent me this mold, and it's got buttons in it. And you guys know how I am about my buttons. And the little kit also came with this UV resin where you put the little light over it and it like cures within seconds. Well, like I said, I wanted Bumperdick to be a little bit different than Pumpernick. I want to make his eyes buttons, y'all. I mean, how more Crafty Cathy can you get than that? So these molds are really cool. I'll put these in the description box below. I really like these, and I don't think they're very expensive. So you just go inside the little mold with your resin, and then you set the UV light over it for 2 minutes, and it cures. And then you kind of flip over your little mold and give it another 2 minutes on the other side, and it's totally finished. Well, y'all know me and my buttons. I got a little carried away, and I made like 20 million buttons, what it seemed like. And I started thinking, hey, I could paint these and put these on different places on Bumperdick. So I made some orange. Some of them were the pewter gray. Some of them were the lighter gray. And then some of them were black. I just made different colors on different sizes in case I could use them in this DIY or even if I wanted to use them later on other DIYs. So this was the very last time that I made his smile. It took me 3 attempts, and I finally got smart and started using my little detail paintbrushes. These things are lifesavers, and they're in my Amazon store in case you want some. I use these all the time in my DIYs, and it just made it so much simpler to go down and make his teeth that way. Then I took a brush that was just like straight across, and it's a little bit thicker, and I dipped it in that lighter gray, and I went down the top to make his little lapels. And then I changed up my brush to a little fine one again and made 2 little dots on the sides of his cuffs, which represent tiny buttons. Now this button mold that she sent me has large buttons, medium size, and small ones. I took the medium ones, and that's what's going to go inside his eyes, and those are painted with that pewter gray. I love the original that she created, the Pumpernick, and he gives me like a Halloween, like a circus-y feel, and that's what I wanted mine to look like too. I wanted him to have that circusy Halloween feel. That's the only way I can put it into words. I also want him to have vibes that's kind of like Tim Burton, Nightmare Before Christmas type vibes. Most of you have probably seen that movie, but if not, that's kind of, you know, what I'm going off of also in my mind. I placed the cutest little orange button right where his little jacket comes together, and I think that really kind of topped him off. You know what I mean? It just gave him that little something special, and since it's the button, it's very Crafty Cathy. Since the button was orange, the 4 little dots inside the button, I just painted those black so it would have a little offset. I placed a smaller button inside that largest gray one, and I painted those white, and those are going to be the inner portion of his eyes. I measured the 4 sides of the boxes, and then I cut down 4 pieces of paper to go. I used paper that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I absolutely love this Harlequin black and white style. Also, the striped. I think it's very vintage, and all I used was my handy dandy glue stick, and I think that that's going to be plenty enough to keep these papers on there the way that they're supposed to go. Now, I just placed one on each side. And for the top of the box, the part where Bumper Dick's going to be sitting, I painted it black. And remember, the bottom portion of the box needs to be open. So whether you use a crate like I did, or if you're going to use a regular box, that bottom portion needs to be open, and you'll see why in just a second. I drilled a hole in the middle of the box, and I cut down a dowel that I get in a pack at Walmart. And this is where Bumper Dick's going to go on that. And I just made it long enough to where it could just stand up inside the bottom of that box, if that makes sense. You see how I did there? And I added a little bit of glue so that it would be supported a little better. And then I just slid Bumper Dick right over the top of that. And that will help him to be very stable and not, move around. Because if you're going to take the time to make this, you definitely don't want it to get messed up. I couldn't figure out what to put on the front. She had made these beautiful little like round pictures that she had printed, and my printer was acting crazy, so I just decided to make some rosettes. They are 2 inches wide, and all you do is fold them back and forth, and then you glue the 2 ends together and bring them around into a circle. I always put a little glue in the very center part of my circle and hold it together. That way my rosettes will hold their shape and stay small. And I put this rosette on the very front of the box. Then in this part I was a little indecisive. I wanted to place something around the top portion of the box to kind of disguise where that paper meets the box. So I took just different colors of pipe cleaners, like the gray and the orange and the black, and I just twisted them together, almost like a candy cane effect, to see which color that I liked the best. And I wasn't crazy about the color of orange in the pipe cleaner I had because it was a brighter orange than what Bumper Dick was, but it's okay. In the end, that's the one I decided to use. I just seemed to like that black and orange combination, and I think it looks so much more better than the black and gray, combination. And all I did, since this has a wire in it, is run it around the top of the box until the pipe cleaner stopped, and then I just added the other. And I had a little bit of an excess, and all I did was take my little cutters and cut that off. After much debate, I decided to take a very thin piece of ribbon and put that around the top part of his hat. I was going to use the pipe cleaners at first, but I decided I liked the ribbon so much better, and it's black and white striped. Then I took one of the small orange buttons and I placed that right on the top and side of his hat, and I think that just really set it off. I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to put in the middle of the rosette, so in the end I just chose one of the large buttons and I painted it orange and put little black dots in the center. I got these wooden pieces from Hobby Lobby in the woodpile section, and they almost look like washers, like a wooden washer. And so what I did was I painted it black and I put it over the hole that I created in the side of the box. That is where the little crank for the jack-o'-lantern's going to go. And so I just kind of disguised it with that little wooden piece there. And then I had to incorporate my husband's help on this. He got a large gauge of wire. I'm not really sure what size this is. And it was covered in black vinyl. He is an electrician, so he already had the wire on hand. And so I don't know what gauge it is. But we shaped it like a Z and stuck it through that little hole on the side. I also bought that wooden spool at Hobby Lobby. They come in a pack of 4. I painted it orange and put a piece of scrap paper around the middle of it. And then I stuck 2 little small plastic beads on the outside of it just for extra decoration. And then the very last thing that I did to top it all off was cut off just a tiny little sprig of a flower that I'm going to put on his lapel, and it's going to be like a little flower corsage. Now, he hasn't hit the moonshine yet, so he still looks nice and dashing. He's getting ready for an evening out. He's going to be chasing the ladies, so he's got to look hot. And he is more in depth than what I normally do on my projects, but I had so much fun making Bumper Dick. Since the first DIY took up so much time, I decided just to do one really quick one. I also got this decopauge paper from my friend Paige, and I absolutely love it. It's got a witch on the front of it, and she's a vintage witch. And then look at this beautiful frame. It originally came from the Family Dollar. I got it for just 50 cents, but I think she's going to fit perfect in that. Now, one of my projects today was very in-depth. This one is like 2 seconds, so don't blink because you'll miss it. I took the glass out and I took the inner little cardboard backing part out, and I'm just taking my beadboard paint by DIY Paint, and I am just going to color this that beautiful off-white color. And lately I have been using my glue stick even on my decopauge papers and my napkins because it's still glue and it's very easy to put projects on with that. And also, if you don't want your projects to be permanent, it's a lot easier to get them off. Now, it did have a little bit of an overhang, so I took my little finger sander and just zipped that right off of there. I popped it right back in the frame, and she is gorgeous. For our very first DIY, the supplies we're going to need is going to be this Dollar Tree crate. I got this one from the plus section. It's $3. It's much larger than the one that's $1.25, but you can use that one if you need to. And we're going to need some of the Halloween fabric. I couldn't believe that I got a hold of the ones from the Dollar Tree. We're actually only going to need a small square from one of these. And then at my local Dollar General, I found these gorgeous little skeletons the other day. They were just $1 a piece. They're hear no evil, speak no evil, and see no evil. I could not believe the quality of these for $1 a piece. You would never find that at Dollar Tree, so definitely keep your eye out for Dollar General. They have good DIY stuff. I'm going to use my favorite paint, my DIY paint in the color Black Velvet, which is exactly what it dries down to look like. I'm going to paint the outside and the inside of this crate with the black. I get all of my DIY paint from www.miltonsdaughter.com. Lori, the owner, is amazing. So last week, I made a post on the channel and asked you guys, would you rather see fall DIYs or Halloween, or did you want me to continue with those Dollar Tree hack videos that I had been doing recently? And most of you guys said fall. But the reason why I did the Halloween first is simply because these ideas have been stewing in my mind all summer long. So guys, I just couldn't wait another minute to get these ideas out of my mind and make them a reality. And there's just something so special about vintage Halloween. It takes me back to a sweet and innocent time in my mind, way back when I used to go trick-or-treating. And guys, I just want to take a minute to welcome you to my channel. If you haven't subscribed to it yet, you just hit that red button and you'll become a part of our family. And there's a bell beside it, and if you hit that, YouTube's going to let you know every time that I put out a video. Also, if you enjoy my content, give me a thumbs up. That's the like button, because it really helps me out on YouTube. It helps to push my videos out there to people who've never seen me before, and I thank you so much for doing that. Now back to the DIY. I'm going to pull out this gorgeous piece of fabric that I got at Dollar Tree. I think they came out with 5 different designs this year. I got 2 of each one because I'm never able to find their fabric. Now I'm going to put this fabric on the inside of my box, but the way that I measured it was to flip it over on the back. And the print on this is black and white. So I'm going to use a copper colored washable marker. That way I can mark it to show myself where to cut at. Then once I got my piece cut out, I just laid it inside my box to make sure that I cut it correctly. Now if you didn't cut it perfectly, don't worry about that. You're not going to be able to see any difference. Now I went and grabbed my Mod Podge, and the first one that I got a hold of is the one that I used. It really doesn't matter what type of Mod Podge you use, and you're just going to put it all down on the inside, and that is what you're going to place your fabric on top of, and then you're just going to use your hands to smooth it out. I like to kind of start from the middle and work my way out to make sure that my lines are correct. I started off by doing just a half of the box, and then I did the other half the same way. I just used my fingers to smooth it out and make sure everything goes exactly where it's supposed to go. The next thing we're going to do is add some lights. And I got these battery operated lights from the Dollar Tree, and I believe that there are 12 lights on this strand, and I chose the color orange just because it's classic and I thought that it would look good. And also, if you look at a lot of the older vintage style decorations, they all have that color of orange. I was going to use like tacks to kind of tack this up, but I found out very quickly that that's not going to work. The box was just too hard to pop the tacks through. So what I decided to do was just use some hot glue. And I know that it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing, but I'll show you in just a minute. I had to lay the box in a way where I could see what I was doing so I could get in there, you know. But basically what I did is put down 3 lights on each side, since there was a total of 12 and you have 4 sides on your box. So the first ones, I wanted them to go in the back of the box and kind of be standing up and look like little torches. And that's exactly what I did. And all I did was just put like a very thin line of the hot glue, and it just stuck right to it very easily. You don't want to put too much of that hot glue because it might burn your wire and mess your lights up. And then the next thing we're going to do is go up the side of our box. And I wanted those lights to come all the way out to the very front of that box. So I just kind of laid them on their side, if you will, and I glued them in the exact same fashion as I did the other ones. Now all of these lights, I pulled them out to the front of the box where they would be flush with the box. And I know it's really tough to see it, but I'm going to show you in just a moment what I did so it will all make sense. Just be sure to use your finger protectors. I usually learn this the hard way, but it just makes it that much easier for you because when you put your line of glue, you can actually hold that light to the side of the box without worrying about burning your fingertips off. Here is a much better view of what I did with the lights. The part that's going to be the bottom of the box, Those 3 lights are in the very back. And then the rest of the lights basically are laying on their side, and they're all the way up to the front of the box. And like I said, I put 3 lights on each side because there's 4 sides on my box here. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. I'm sorry that you couldn't see it very well. I always glue my battery packs on the back where they're out of sight, and I make sure that I leave that one area face up where I can change my batteries and where I can also flip the little switch on and off with ease. That way I'll never have to fool with this battery pack again or take it off of my box. And so far, here's what our box looks like with all our pretty lights inside. I got these styrofoam bones from the Dollar Tree, and I didn't want them to be that stark white color, so I got my DIY paint can in the color crinoline, and it was literally dry. There was no paint left in there, so I added a little bit of water and just kind of put a little bit of color on these bones to make them look a little bit more realistic. For years and years, I've been wanting to try rub and buff and just never did. But last week, I got my first shipment. It came in 4 different containers of different colors, and I got it off of Amazon. It's in my Amazon store if you want to try some of it out. But it's a wax. It's not a paint, it's a wax. And I just wanted to color in the eyes of my little skeletons. I just thought that it would look so much better if they were darker and just seemed like they went on forever. Now here's what they look like side by side. And if you ask me, what makes your crafts different is it's in the little details. I'm telling you, it really makes a difference. So I only have 2 skeletons where you can actually see their eye sockets, and I went ahead and colored both of those. And then I have this piece, it's a resin mold that I made probably about a month ago, and I just saw it laying on my desk, and I wanted to see what it would look like with some of that black wax on it. Now, I just went over it very sloppily because I wanted a little bit of that white to show through. I'm going to place this over the lights, and I want the lights to be able to come through. I've got this huge roll that I don't know where it came from of black tulle, and I'm just going to like pull off pieces of it. I want them to look messy. I don't want it to be cut and have perfect edges. I just ripped a few pieces of it off. And I'm going to place this down toward the bottom part of my box. And then I have this pick, and it's actually just a piece of a pick that came off of one of my Halloween decorations from last year. Now, I think it was a pick from the Dollar Tree, and I just kind of cut it up. I'm just going to put a little line of glue and put that up toward the top of my box. Now my little bone pieces are dry, so I'm just going to kind of lay them underneath that tool. No special manner, I'm just kind of sticking them in there every which way. I'm going to take one of my little sparkly spiders, and this came from a pack from the Dollar Tree. I think there's about 6 or 12 in there. And I put some of the glue up toward the head of it because I want it to look like it's crawling around the side. And I glued it down. And now I'm gluing my little resin piece right over that light on the top in the center. And I was right, it did shine through and look really cool. Then I grabbed all my little skeletons and I pulled the tags off the bottom of them. I put just a little bit of hot glue on the bottom of them because I may want to use these in a different decoration. So I just put a little bit of the glue and set each one of them down in the way that I wanted it to go. Then the very last step that I did is I got this little head and it lights up. I got this one from Dollar General and I think it was $3. I'm going to place it kind of sideways up by my little resin mold and then one of my little pumpkins that came off of a Dollar Tree pick. And that's all there was to this one. I love this one so much. Wait till you see how this one turns out. It's my favorite, a vintage treasure box. I got my little box from the Dollar Tree, and my paper came from Hobby Lobby. Now, I've already cut this orange and black striped paper, but I was determined to use it. I realized that it's not going to go all the way around my box, so I actually counted how many squares I needed to place it together in the back, which it was only about 4 squares. And you'll see what I'm talking about in just one moment. Now, these boxes have a seam that goes down the back of them, and that's where this paper is going to go. So you're never going to see where it's pieced together. I just used my glue stick. It was plenty sufficient for this craft. I just put down my 2 pieces of striped paper, one on top of the other on the back of my box. I make sure that I get plenty of that glue stick around all the corners and the edges of the piece of paper, and then I just use my fingers to kind of smooth it out. I only had this one piece of paper, but if I had my way, I would have had a whole sheet. The paper is a 12 by 12. It would have been so much easier just to be able to wrap that piece around there. But I had to work with what I had, and that's why I'm piecing mine together this way. I go around the box with those 2 longer pieces of paper, and you see in the back, they just connect right over those 2 smaller pieces, and you can't really tell that they were just seamed together that way. Also, we're going to add more decorations and embellishments, so you're never going to notice that anything is any different. So I went around and added my 2 longer pieces of paper the exact same way that I did those 2 smaller pieces, one on top of the other. And there is a tiny, maybe half-inch little piece up at the top where you can still see the red of the box. But remember, you're going to close that box down and you're never going to see that part. And for me, it wasn't worth it to cut one tiny little piece of paper all the way around. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to just make sure that you can't see anything like that, just cover it up. But like I said, you're never going to see it once the top is placed on the box. And then I take the very top of my box. I'm going to use like this Harlequin type black and white paper for it. I just measured it out and I cut my circle down. And I'm going to do the exact same thing like I did on the sides. I'm going to use my glue stick. I just feel that using that glue stick is so much easier. You don't have to worry about wrinkles and it sticks perfectly. The way that I got the sides of the top of that box is I laid it down on its side and made a straight line and just cut it with my little paper cutter. I made sure to put the sides on before I put the top of that box on because I just felt that it would be easier that way. So I did have to cut 2 little stripes to make it go all the way around, but once again, you never notice any difference once it's cut and placed together. Now we're just going to place the top part right on and just make sure that you get that glue stick all around the edges very well and it will stick perfectly for you. I've got a piece of tulle that I had pulled off earlier, and I'm going to lay this down on the top of my box. Now, I don't know what I was doing by thinking that that glue stick was going to hold that tulle to the top of that box. I don't know. I can't answer that, what was in my mind at that moment. But you see, I just put a couple little beads of glue around my box there, pulled the tulle around, and if there was any hanging down over the side of that box, I just cut it off. Yeah, that's one of those moments I'm like, what? Now, for the most part, our box is finished right there, but we are going to do some embellishments to cover over where I had to piece my paper together. I want to show you this postcard book that I came across at a yard sale about a week ago. I could not believe that I found these, and the lady only wanted 50 cents for each little book. Now, one of them is a sticker book. They're all vintage postcards, which is amazing. And they're a great size. I don't have to copy these off of the internet, which most of us have seen these pictures, but I have them on an actual postcard. And I wanted to use one of these on the top of my box, but to keep it Dollar Tree, I found these tree toppers, y'all, and I absolutely love this one with the witch. She is going to be a perfect addition on the top of this little treasure box. Now, I wanted to put a little sparkle to her, though, and I have this orange glitter that came from the Dollar Tree also. I'm just going to put some Mod Podge on her and then just pour the glitter on. And first, I just did it on the broom to kind of see what it was going to look like. And I really liked it. It really made it stand out, and it just was absolutely gorgeous. I love these tree toppers. I went back and got about 3 or 4 of these because imagine all the DIYs we can use these in. And I had to share this. I've been laughing for about an hour. This witch bears a strong resemblance to my Aunt Sheila. And it's okay because we always give each other a hard time. She's hilarious. Now, to get my tree topper to stand up on the top of this box, what I did was cut 4 holes in the top of the box. I just placed them toward the center. They don't have to be in any certain order or fashion. What I'm going to do is take a small tie wrap. I'm going to go up through one of the holes and loop it around the bottom part of this little tree topper and back down through the other hole. And it's going to hold her down there perfectly. I did put those holes in the box far enough apart so that I could put one tie wrap on one side of that tree topper, and the other tie wrap that I'm going to use is going to go and hold the other side down. That way she wouldn't be warped or just held down on one side. She's going to have a good stable hold on top of that box. I took a wad of that tulle that I had pulled off from earlier, and I'm going to glue it down behind my witch. I'm going to glue some all the way around the box, but I'm really focusing on getting this tulle to kind of stand up behind my witch so that it would really like accentuate her and just kind of, complement her. I've got another set of lights from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to place these behind the witch on the box. What I did was make a couple more holes behind the witch there. I'm going to run my tie wrap up and around the cord of the lights so that it will hold those lights in place. Run my tie wrap back down and just click it together, and that is going to hold those lights perfectly. Now, you can either put the battery pack down inside your little box, or you can do like I did and just glue it to the back of the box. Either way, you're not going to be able to see it. I just ended up gluing mine down to the back of the box. And I don't want any of y'all to think that I'm a terrible person because I was messing with my Aunt Sheila. She's actually the person that I got my humor from, and we just always joke around and play around with each other. But you have to admit, there is a strong resemblance there. And I took another one of those little striped pumpkins off of a pick, and I'm going to place that right at the bottom in front of all that tulle. Then I'm going to take some of my thinner Dollar Tree ribbon, and I'm going to go around the center part of my box, and I'm also going to go around the bottom part of the box. That way, in case any of those seams that I've made by cutting all that paper are going to show, they'll just be covered up by this ribbon. You'll never know that I had to piece my paper together. But if you have one straight piece of paper, you're not going to have to worry about all that cutting and stuff that I had to deal with. I grabbed a couple of black buttons from one of my little Dollar Tree button jars, and I'm going to place them like I always like to do my buttons. I like to put one big one and then one kind of on the side of that one, if you will. And then here is where I'm just placing that bottom strip of ribbon at the bottom of my box. Now we're just adding all the finishing touches. I did take the other piece of that little Halloween pick that I had, and it was kind of falling out of the top of the pick, and I wanted to use the whole pick. So I took some electrical tape and just kind of wrapped it around the top of that, or you can use floral tape, it doesn't matter. Just something that's going to hold your little pick together. And I cut it off so that it would be standing up exactly where I wanted it behind my witch. And I'm just going to place it down almost at the side of my battery pack so that it's not going to fall over and it's going to be nice and stable back there. I grabbed some of the Halloween stickers that I got from Dollar Tree, and I chose this black and white one that says Happy Halloween, and I think that's going to be perfect right in the front and center of my box, so I placed that right on. And it's got a little tab behind it, so it almost comes out 3D. I grabbed another one of my little glittered up spiders, and there are 6 in a pack, and I'm going to place this spider climbing down on the side of that pumpkin. Now here's something that you can leave on or take off. It's totally up to you. But I wanted my box to stand up a little bit, so I'm just going to place mine on the top of this candlestick. And this candlestick did come from the Dollar Tree a couple of years ago also. And here she is. I couldn't stop laughing after I realized who she reminded me of. Now we're moving into the last DIY of the day, and this is the one that I told you I pulled right out of the garbage can. Now this is a brie cheese box, but if you eat those Laughing Cow little triangle cheese squares, that's a perfect place to get the box too. We're going to make one of those vintage like noisemakers that the kids used to play with. We're going to stick some beads in there, and it doesn't matter which ones because you're never going to see them. They're just in there to make a bunch of noise. I'm going to put a small dab of glue, one on each side of my box, just to hold my box together. And here is my paper squares before I actually cut them up. I'm going to use this one that's polka dot, and I'm going to measure the top of the box, and then I'm going to flip it over and measure the bottom of the box because each one has a little different in size because of that lip that goes down over the top of it. And I'm just going to cut those 2 pieces of paper out. And once I get them cut out, I'm just going to place them on my little box the same way that I did before. I'm going to use a glue stick, making sure that I get plenty of that glue around the corners. I'm going to measure the amount of paper that I need the same way that I did before. Lay my box on my side and make a little straight line. And then I'm going to trace that out and cut it off with my paper cutter. Then I'm just going to add plenty of my glue stick like before, and I'm going to place that right along the side of my box. Now, it's important, I think, to go ahead and put the top and the bottom of your box on and then put the side on. And you will have to do like before and make one more cut because there's a little area in the very back of your box that's not going to be covered if you don't. I lifted up the edges that I had already laid down and tried to place that smaller piece down in between them just because I felt like it tucked it away a little bit better and it's not as easily seen. And then I just measured 2 inches with my little paper cutter here, and I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces of this paper off to make our little rosettes. I've always loved the vintage Halloween and vintage Christmas, but this is the first time I've ever made a rosette of my own. And all you do is just fold it on one side and then flip your paper over and fold it the opposite way. You do that all the way down to the bottom. And you're going to have to do 2 pieces so that it will come around and make a circle, and you're going to have a perfect little circled rosette. And the way that I put my rosettes together was just simply to glue the 2 ends together, and it just makes a perfect little circle. I got this free printable off the Johanna Parker website. Now, she is one of my all-time favorites for vintage Halloween. Now, normally when you print this out, it's in color already, but my color ink was out on my printer, so I literally had to grab a marker and just color it myself. But it's okay because it made the very vibrant oranges and yellows in the picture just really pop. When I finished coloring up my cat, I cut it out and I actually made 2 of those rosettes that I had showed you from earlier. One of them I made from the polka dots, the other from the stripes. And so I just glued him down onto the one with the polka dots and then glued that one on top of the one with the stripes. I painted this dowel orange that came from Walmart, and that's going to be what you hold your little Noisemaker with. I made a hole in the bottom of my cheese box with my scissors, put a little bit of glue, and stuffed the dowel right up inside. Now all that's left to do is embellish this baby. I took some ribbon from Dollar Tree and cut it at varying lengths, and I just tied that around the bottom part of my Noisemaker. And then I took a little pre-made bow that I have that I get at Christmas time from Amazon and stuck it underneath the cat to make it look like he was wearing a bow tie. Now on this first one, we're going to make a floral centerpiece, and I'm going to show you a really easy way to do it. But first, I'm getting this old glue off this thing because I have used this candlestick so many times. It's just a candlestick that I have painted black already, so it works really good, and it's very neutral, so you can use it with a lot of different decor. The first thing I'm going to do is take this block of floral foam that I've got and cut it in half, because you really don't need a whole like thick piece, and you'll see what I'm talking about. We lay it up there, and I'm going to cut the edges off because it's sticking over, and I really don't want it to do that. So here's what we got so far is our pretty little candlestick, just a basic candlestick from Goodwill, and then our little floral foam. And what I'm going to do is take this floral foam and I'm going to glue it to the top of that candlestick.
I'm actually using my glue skillet because I am turning over a new leaf. And as I'm trying to do more wreaths and that kind of thing, I figured I might as well use it. It's a nice little Grace Monroe skillet that they sent me, and I'm so glad they did. So I just stick some of that on there and put it. Now this is the main focal point, what I was talking about a minute ago. I got these selfie skeletons at the Dollar General this year for $5. Now this is one of my favorite pieces of decor I've got, but I want to make it something more than what it is because it's small and I want to make it a centerpiece. Now I'm not about to go out and buy new flowers for October, but I did get these off of Amazon last fall. And they're eucalyptus, and I absolutely hate that bright, vivid orange color. It's even too bright for Halloween, y'all. It's like a fluorescent orange and a fluorescent yellow. And I'm going to show you how you can take that and tone that down real quick and use it in your florals. Now, first off, I painted it with my trusty Rust-Oleum 2x in rustic orange. You can do this with any flower. It doesn't have to be what I've got. And while it's still wet, I'm taking the Ultra Matte Black. And the black is because I just want to add a darkness to that orange. I don't want to paint it totally black, but I want it to be a little darker and have darkened areas. And you see what I did. I sprayed it 5 times, and I didn't really even spray it. You missed it. And the reason why you do that is because it just the particles just kind of fall all over that stem instead of focusing into one area. And it creates just like a perfect blending of colors. It makes that orange just a little bit darker. And to mist it, you just kind of hold your can back a little bit further and let it just fall on it. Now, when they dry, look at these. We've got some new, fresh Halloween decor that I didn't pay a dime for this year. Now, that's my style. I got this garland from the at-home store last weekend when I went. It was $7.99. Now, it's that material that is like the wreath in a Christmas tree, except for it's black. I did buy this last weekend, but I have to say I greatly needed it. This thing is about 7 foot long, maybe 6, and I just went down through there with my cutters and I cut off all those little pieces. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me sit there and cut all of that. And then I always cut off all of my stems. At first, I just cut off one because I wasn't sure how much I was going to need. But I want to disguise that piece of floral foam. I'm going to paint it with just some cheap black paint. You don't have to even do a full coverage. I'm just kind of slapping it on there, just kind of haphazardly all over the place. I just don't want it to be seen through those orange flowers, So that's good enough. We don't have to have full coverage. I'm going to take my beautiful little pieces of wreath, I guess you could call them, and just pop them in there. What I'm going to do is go all the way around. Now, some people will tell you to put a little bit of glue on the end and stick it in, and that probably would be great. But I've never had any trouble with it coming out this way. And you see, all I'm doing is going around the bottom portion of that piece of floral foam and just getting it stuck on there. I just want it on there. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Now I'm going to take my little orange flowers that I cut off, and in no particular order, I'm going around with them. And as I started going around, I realized it looked better if I put them in kind of at an angle, like angled downward. That way they're not just laying flat on top of those black pieces and it kind of looked funny. You see what I mean? I kind of angled them and went down, and I did that exact same thing all over this little piece here. Now, I did, when I got to the end, have to cut off some more, but that's no problem because the more the merrier. I've got 10,000 things of them doggone bright orange eucalyptus. I just didn't want to have to spray paint anymore. And then just to test it out, I set my little skeletons in there to see what they're going to look like. So now do you see what I mean by taking something that you absolutely love and making it a focal point? Now my little skeletons are going to be like this beautiful floral piece that I can set right on my kitchen table. But let's don't joke around. It ain't going on my kitchen table. This is for my grandson. He loves these selfie skeletons, and he's 5. And so I don't know why I said put on my kitchen table. Y'all that's got grandbabies know everything that I make, I give to that child if it's Halloween, because he just gets so excited. And I think that's why I've been doing more Halloween this year, because of him. He just brings out that kid in Gran. That's what he calls me. Now, I realized here in the back of these skeletons, I really want them to be accentuated. They're in love. They're taking selfies. So what I did was take a couple more of those branches and stick them behind them. And since they're wired, you can pull them up with your hands and make it look like it's flowers kind of flaring out behind them. You'll see in just a minute. I just put the camera a little bit closer so I could show you what I do with these little ornaments. These are just to jazz it up some. I pull the ends of them off, put a little glue on it, and just stick it down in there wherever I want it to go. And you don't have to worry about it not holding or whatever. It's going to hold. It's going to grab on. That glue will grab on to whatever you're sticking it on, and it'll hold. Now, I do like to use different textures in these ornaments. You see that first one was glitter. The second one was shiny. I just think it brings something. And then we're coming in with the orange, because black and orange, you got to mix it up, or else it's not going to be as pretty if I was to put all black or all orange. So what I did was 2 black and then this one glittery orange. And I'm just going to stick that right on the top. And I put it kind of off to the side, but still in the front. That way it's going to be in your eye line, but it's not going to be overtaking those skeletons. And guys, one of my subscribers, Miss Paige, and she's a dear friend of mine, sent me a little mold that has buttons and heart-shaped buttons. At first, I was just going to put the regular button on there, and then I thought, no, these guys are in love. Let's do a heart. Let's shake it up. I mean, even though it's Halloween, it's going to be cute, right? So what I'm doing is just painting that little heart black. I wanted it to be black because I wanted it to go in with the background and not stick out and grab your eye, because that's not the main focal point of this floral piece. The main point is our skeletons. So I'm painting it black, and I'm just going to stick it right down in the front. And by the way, I'm going to leave in the description box below the name of that mold, and that way you guys can get it if you want it. They're only like $5, and they're really cute to add on to your pieces. So I just stuck a little bit of glue on the back of my heart, and I'm going to stick it right in the center part there of those 2 little skeletons. And then I grabbed 3 more of those little small decorative ornaments that you get from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to take 2 orange and 1 black. I just like it when you just kind of change up, you know, instead of doing 2 black and 1 orange again. I'm going to change it up a little. And I'm doing the different textures again. So I'm going to stick these 3 on that opposite side of my skeletons, just like I did before. Pull the ends off, put a little bit of glue on the end, and just stick it in there. And it's going to grab on to whatever it needs to grab to. I picked up those medium-sized spiders from the Dollar Tree, and they've got the orange glitter on their backs, and I'm not even going to glue him down. I definitely want him on there like he's crawling up those ornaments, just kind of off to the side, but I didn't want to put that old stringy glue on there and have it all in my flowers and stuff. I added 1 last button because you guys know that I can't just leave it alone and just put 1 button. I always have to put a smaller button up on the right side. I don't know, it's just my thing. Don't question, I just try not to. And then I gave it 1 more good fluff. Like I said, since everything has, you know, the wire in it, it's very easy to pull it up. And I thought, I'm just going to take some of these pieces of black, every little bit, and pull it up through the orange. That way there's a contrast between orange, black, orange, black. And man, I'm glad I did.
And I made sure that I really fluffed that up behind them, so when you're looking at the guys, it looks like they're just standing in this field of beautiful flowers taking their little selfie. Now, the very last thing that I did to finish this beautiful piece off was just take one of these little signs from the Dollar Tree. Of course, I picked the orange and black one, and it said Spooky Greeting, so it just kind of went with it. It has wire on it, so all I did is just took the wire off and wired it back on. And guys, I think this is my favorite Halloween decoration I've made all season. I'm in love with this. Let me know what you think. If you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button because it really helps me out on YouTube. And hey, subscribe to our channel. It's totally free and I'd love to have you. For DIY number 1, I have a tiered tray of sorts that you can put your candy in for your trick-or-treaters. It's going to have this charger on the bottom and this plastic piece that goes on the top, both from Dollar Tree. And I took it outside and spray painted it black with the Rust-Oleum matte ×2. I got these napkins from the Dollar Tree, and I absolutely think these are really cool. They're really stepping it up. And we're going to decoupage on a hurricane vase. That's their glass vases. I wet a paintbrush and go around the pattern that I want to get off there. You never cut when you're decoupaging with scissors because straight lines don't look good. But if you like kind of rip it, it looks great. All we need is that top layer. Most napkins have 1 or 2. Occasionally they'll have 3. Okay, so we lay our hurricane vase down on something where it's not going to move. Put a very little bit of Mod Podge down and start laying down your napkin. I do it in kind of like sections so I have better control. That's less wrinkles. And I didn't have any saran wrap, which if you don't want wrinkles, that's your best friend is the saran wrap. But I made do, and I just used a plastic bag that paint came in. Hey, it worked the same. There was no wrinkles. What happens is your fingers act like an iron, and the heat from your body like almost irons out the wrinkles. So just use a piece of plastic if you don't have saran wrap. But I always use saran wrap when I'm decoupaging. That is a sure way to not get any wrinkles. And don't use a lot of Mod Podge. You don't need a lot. All you need is just a tiny bit. If you put too much, it's going to be wet and gloppy and it's going to tear. And we don't want that. So I went all the way around the bottle with my pattern. Then up at the top, I had torn off what was 2 spider webs on the napkins, and I wanted those specifically at the top. So I just stuck those at the top. And you see that big wrinkle right in the middle? This is absolute proof that the wrinkles will be totally gone when you're finished using saran wrap or plastic in my case. I forgot that my buddy Lori over at Milton's Daughter had sent me this liquid patina. It's kind of the same thing as Mod Podge. I found it to be thinner and I liked it better, but you know I'm a DIY paint girl. All their products are just bomb to me. And so I always tell everybody to go get your supplies and your paint. If you like DIY paint, if you want to try it, you know, contact Lori over at Milton's Daughter. I always leave it in the description box. And she gives my subscribers 10% off when you use the code CraftyCathy10. And she is amazing. She will help you in any way. So
I took my vintage linen, which is an off-white color, and just a sponge. I didn't have a dauber, which would have been better, because all I wanted to do is kind of go around this whole pattern anywhere where it was clear, you know, showing through the glass, where the napkin did not cover, and I just kind of dabbed it on, you know, almost like a snowflake looking effect, like when you're trying to make it look like snowflakes. But it turned out so pretty. I went around that whole jar. I thought this gave it just a little added interest. And then I took my JB Ranger Distress Oxide. Now this is like a stamp pad, but I use it as a distressing color because it's called Weathered Twigs. And you see it's this perfect old brown color that would make me think of something old and vintagey. I used my makeup brushes. You can get these at the Dollar Tree, and they're great to like distress with. So I went around any areas where I wanted to look kind of old and just like, you know, rotten looking, and I just filled in this whole glass with that. And look how pretty that matte black turned out. I love matte black. Now, all I had was the owl lights that came from the Dollar Tree, but they'll work. I strung them as close to the center as I could in my little top candy dish, and it is actually going to go and sit down inside that hurricane vase. Now, the little battery pack, I just left it right in the center of the candy dish for now. I took some of those sticker dots that I get from the Dollar Tree, and I've got one of these old skeleton birds, and I thought these would be really cool in his eyes. You could put jewels or whatever. But this really did take this skeleton up a notch. It made him look so spooky. And then I had a paint that is a metallic color, and it's made by Folk Art. It's called Metallics Bright Green. You can get it at Walmart, and it is a crazy green, bright green. It's like a color shift. It changes colors as you move it around in the light. And I painted his eyes with that, and he looks spooky. And then I took my Distress Oxide again, that brown ink pad, and my makeup brush, and I went all around this skeleton and just kind of made it just look old and just vintagey, you know. I went all over this sucker, and it really changed him from going from an old cheap Dollar Tree looking bird to something that was really cool. Now we're going to put this mamma jamma together. I thought to use E6000 and hot glue so that we can get a good permanent hold and it won't go nowhere. So I started off at the bottom of my charger and put down the E6000 and the hot glue. You don't put them down together, just kind of side by side. And then I put the hurricane vase down. On the top of the vase, I did the same thing with the glues, and I laid the candy dish down there. And now I'm going to take that battery pack and glue it down. But I made sure to lay it in the way where all you had to do was pop off the top and change the batteries. And then I'm going to use the E6000 and the hot glue and glue this old oogly skeleton down to the top of it. And I think this is really cool. I took 2 little clip-on bats from the Dollar Tree. They came like 4 in a pack. And I'm really having fun with those. And I stuck them on the front. And then just a purple flower that came from one of their little Halloween flower picks. And I know that's a funny spot to stick it, but hey, it really looked cool. I took one of these spiders. I got these at Walmart. There was like 8 in a pack for $1.98 maybe. And I just stuck it on the front right there. It was purple and it matched the flower. Let me know what you think about this ghoul. You can't really see right here the light coming through the vase, but it looks amazing. And I got all this done with Dollar Tree products for under $4. So for DIY number 2, it's just a quick little Halloween tag that I make and sell in my store. I've got various different kinds of cardstock here. It's all like from a fall pack except for this black and white. And these are just little tags that I ordered off of Amazon. They are in my Amazon store if you want some. And I just lay them down, use my glue stick, and I stick them to the cardstock of my choice. I decided to do 2 on the black and white buffalo check, and then 2 on this pattern that is the green striped because I really like that pattern. Then I just cut them as close as I can to the edges and use a sanding sponge to get off any bits that's kind of hanging over there and make them, you know, perfectly shaped the way that the tag goes. It was tough to pick which images I wanted. Now these are images that I pulled off of the Graphics Fairy. I pulled them off of Google, and then the Charlie Brown ones I purchased on Etsy. And I like to use my scissors that has the zigzags. I'm not sure what they're called. They're just ziggy-zaggy scissors. And so I put these pictures, just 4 different pictures, on the top over the other cardstock that we laid down. And I always just make it a little bit smaller than what the tag is. I take the end of a small paintbrush and just pop that hole back through there. Then I just used a Sharpie and went around these and made like little, kind of like little zigzag lines and just different little patterns around the rim of it, because I always think that just gives it a little added interest. And you don't have to do that. You can even just color in the ends of it, and it just brings a little something extra to the table instead of it being so plain. Then I just tied jute on the top, and I sell these for a couple bucks a piece in my store, and people can't get enough of them. Hey, if you're enjoying my content so far, I'd love to ask you a favor. If you would, hit the like button because that really helps me out on YouTube. And hey, hit that red subscribe button and subscribe and become a part of my family here on YouTube. There's a bell beside it, and when you click that bell, YouTube's going to let you know every time old Crafty Kathy puts out a video. Now let's go into number 3. This is a Halloween swag, and I just use those Halloween trees they have. I butt them up together, and I take some zip ties and I tie them to where they're going to be really tight and not come undone. I think probably 2 zip ties would hold it plenty, but I'm a little extra, and I'm selling these, so I want to make sure it's not going to come apart on the person that buys it. And so I put about 4. And we're just going to open up all these branches. Now, the back part can be flat because think about it, it's going up against a wall anyways, but we want that front to be really fluffy and cute. Then I take this Halloween mesh from the Dollar Tree and I cut it at 7 inches each. Now, we are going to need 36 pieces all together. What I do is on each little roll that I make, you make 12 rolls, and you need 2 of these candy corn looking ones, or any color you want really. And then I did 1 black in that tulle, and y'all know I call it toile. So I do 2 of this little candy corn looking one and 1 toile. All of them are 7 inches each, and I just go through and coat a whole bunch of this candy corn looking one. I think I used about 2 to 3 rolls total on it. And then that black toile, I think I used maybe 2. And y'all know, I know how to say tulle. I just think it's funny when you say toile. Don't ask me why. And there's my big old head making her appearance. She had to show out. So here I go with about 7 inches on this toile. And I just think it gave it a little something something. And all you do when you make your little rolls is you roll them up like a burrito. Just like, they already roll up as you see. As soon as I cut them, they roll up. See, I roll 2 of them up. And then I take that black and I just kind of scrunch it in the middle. And you make like a little unit. You don't tie them or anything. If you have those little clips from the Dollar Tree, use those just to hold it together. You're going to need a total of 12 little units, and each little unit is made from 3 pieces.
Now, just because I use the little candy corn colored ones doesn't mean that you have to, but I think it looks good when you use two of the same and then one that's different. Sorry I keep repeating how I made these. I just hope it makes sense.
Now what I'm going to do is use the little stems from this tree to tie it. I mean, I'm not even going to waste my time on, trying to tie it together with a tie wrap or a pipe cleaner. We don't need that. We can just use the tree itself because it's wire, wrap it around each little set, and just fluff them out as you go. I put 6 on one side and 6 on another. And when I do my swags, I do them just like I do my floral. If I put something on one side, say on the left side, I go and put it in the exact same spot on the right side. That way, it looks cohesive and nice. So you put 6 little units on one side and 6 on the other. And you don't need to overload it. That's going to be plenty, trust me. And if you don't have any of those clips from the Dollar Tree, you can use whatever else to hold it together. But guys, I have so many of those, and I use those in so many different things. They're just a really good product for $1.25, So when I have all my little units put on there, this is what I've got, and I just kind of fluff it out, but I fluff it out 10,000 times, so that's nothing out of the ordinary. You don't even have to fluff it at this point. We're taking this vintagey looking pumpkin man, and I popped him off that yardstick. We're going to glue down a pipe cleaner, and I also just stuck down in that glue one of the little tie wraps, so just for some extra support. Then I take a small piece of cardboard that this stuff came with, just the cardboard from my little pieces here, and glue it over that, and it just gives it a little extra stability. We're going to flip him down on his face and tie him on to where we have the trees tied together. And like I said, I did put a tie wrap on there along with my little pipe cleaner just so I could make sure that it's good and secure. And I fluffed again. Now, I know some of you girls out there are habitual fluffers like me. Like, I cannot stop fluffing if I've got a wreath or something. I just fluff away. Then I take some of this mesh tubing. I bought 2 rolls, a black and an orange. I literally just put them together, and I cut off a small piece of that tubing and tie it in the middle. Or you can use a tie wrap. It doesn't matter. I like to cut mine so they just go crazy all over the place. It kind of looks like spider legs. And then, yep, you guessed it, I fluffed it together so that it wouldn't just be all black on one side and orange on one. So it would kind of go in together and have a black orange kind of everywhere. Now I'm going to take this little piece, and I take a dowel, just a dowel rod, and I put a little bit of hot glue on the end of it and stuffed it kind of in the center of that because we're going to use it like a little pick, and I laid it right down in the back behind that little pumpkin man. I did have to cut off the edge of that dowel because it hung down too low and we don't want it showing. And then see, I just slid it right in the back underneath where the trees come together, and I secured it with some hot glue. And I also put some more of the tie wraps back there on it so it would not go anywhere. And I fluffed it again. I forgot I did take another small piece of cardboard when I glued that down. Anytime you glue something on the back of these, just use a little piece of cardboard so it will be a little more secure and stick back there for you. I took one of those Dollar Tree bats and put it right in the center of that, and this guy is looking so cute so far. I like those little ornaments on my wreaths and stuff, but I couldn't find them. But I did find these little foam pumpkin picks. It's just little pumpkins on a long toothpick looking thing. Well, I pulled them off of that, put a little bit of glue on there, and just stuck them in various spots. And those look exactly or almost exactly like the little orange ornaments that I could not find anywhere at the Dollar Tree this year. But this did just as well. You can use table scatter. You can use pretty much anything that you find and just stick it in there just for a little added effect. That's all we're doing, is just trying to jazz it up. I have some little wood leaves that I ordered off of Amazon, and I painted them orange with the DIY paint color called Summer Crush. It's the perfect pumpkin color. And I'm going to take these 3 leaves and glue them on his hat because I just felt like it gave it a little something extra. I put one straight up and the other 2 kind of going off to the side a little. Then I took one of the sunflowers that was on like a little stem, on a little wire stem, and I put it in the center over that leaf, and it kind of popped out. Now we're going to make him a little bow tie. I make the easiest bow ties ever. I just make a circle and pinch it in the middle is pretty much what I do, and tie it together. That's the easiest bow tie I can explain. Then I cut off about a little 2-inch piece of that ribbon and kind of roll it up, glue it together, and I'm going to put it over the front, and it's just to cover up that jute twine. That's all that's for, and I'm going to glue it together. Make sure you protect those fingers because you don't want those little things getting burnt. I'm going to put it on the end of a popsicle stick. Now, I'm going to stick this right up behind his head and glue it there, and it's going to look like the little bow tie is just kind of floating there. And guess what? I'm going to fluff it up. I bought some of those little rings at the Dollar Tree, and I love the bat. I just clipped the little ring part off the back so we have a little flat bat, and I'm just going to glue him right in the middle of that little bow tie just for a little, I don't know, added touch. I did find 2 little berry picks that I stuck one on each side too.
Now before we jump into the first DIY, I just want to share with you all the different window clings that I have. This one came from the Dollar General. It was just $1, and 99% of theirs are just $1 each. And most of the ones that I have here are from the Dollar General. If they have a yellow dollar on them, that's where they're from. All of these ones that have the yellow $1 on them, I just got these the other day. So these are out at the Dollar General right now. And I must say I do like the quality of the ones better from the Dollar General. So don't forget your Dollar General. Check it out along with your Dollar Tree. I love this one that has the truck on it. Now this one was $2. It was from the Dollar General also. I guess it was $2 because I noticed that the window clings themselves were a little bit thicker and they had that shiny quality like tinfoil, you know. Now we're starting with the ones from Dollar Tree. I did pick this one up last year. And I also picked this one up with all these cute little characters on it last year. It is my favorite out of all of these. But I did see these just the other day, so I know they're out again. The last one here came from Walmart with the bats. It was only $1.24, and it's slightly bigger than the others.
So now for our first project, what we're going to start off with is this shadow box that I picked up at Goodwill for just $1.25. It has a little light inside of it, and I realized I needed to get the back off of that with some screws. Once I got it apart and I got that picture off of the front of it with the little planes and trains on there, I'm going to take my DIY paint in the color Black Velvet, and I just gave it one really quick coat all over. These are all going to be really quick and easy, but on this one I wanted it to be super easy. So I just grabbed the one. This one came from Dollar Tree, and it just says Happy Haunting. You know it's a shadow box, so I'm going to put some lights in it. I want those lights to be able to come through this. And then I just grabbed the bats that I got from Walmart, and I'm going to place 2 of those bats right on the top. It looks like I was trying out a little ghost there at first, and I just didn't like him. The bats were definitely more fitting. The next thing that I did is grab one of those little string lights that I got from Amazon. These came in 12 different string lights, and they were only like $8.99.
They come in a bunch of different colors. There's a pink, a purple, a blue, a green, a bright yellow, a white yellow. There's just all these fun little colors, and I do have these tagged in my Amazon store in case you want to try some.
What I do with these string lights is I just put down a tiny little dab of glue, and then the wire part, not the light part, but the wire part, I will hold it to that glue for a moment so it just keeps it exactly where I want it. And since these lights are wired, you can pretty much kind of form them any way that you want.
And what I did with mine is just kind of wound it around the square shape of my box.
And this is a shadow box that had a little light in it. And if you hit the bottom of the box hard enough, the light came back on. So I had that light on there too. And you see I picked this purpley pink color of lights. And then the light that's actually in the shadow box was just a regular white light.
So I got everything placed back together. I got the back screwed back on. And then I took the battery pack and I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue down, and I'm going to place that battery pack down where the screws are facing up so I can change it if need be. I flipped it around and realized that there's a hot air balloon and an airplane in the background. Crafty Kathy forgot to paint the back of this thing. So then we got to take the box apart again, and I'm just going to give it one quick coat of my DIY paint in the color Black Velvet. I just want to take a quick minute to thank you for coming to my channel and spending a little time with me. If this is your first time ever coming here, welcome. If this is your millionth time coming here, welcome. I appreciate and love every one of you guys. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, while you're here, why don't you just hit that little red subscribe button and become a part of our family? We would love to have you, and we always have room for more. And if you enjoy this video, give me a big thumbs up because that really helps me out on YouTube. It helps to push my videos out there to people who've never seen my content before, and I do greatly appreciate that. Here I'm just taking a little bit of that glow-in-the-dark tool. I get this from Dollar Tree, and I'm just like going to, in no particular order, just kind of wrap up two little small pieces and stick it in there, and then place everything back on. But this time, it's going to be the last time. I flipped her over, and I wanted to put some little embellishments on the front. I'm taking this ribbon that I got at Walmart last week for 47 cents. I really like this to like frame out stuff. It's great. It's a perfect size for that. And for 47 cents, you can't beat it. And that wasn't even on clearance. That's the normal everyday price. So I just put a little bit kind of in the center of the sides there. And I placed my two pieces there. And then I'm just going to take two pieces that just goes right across the top where those connect. Then I grabbed one of my little plastic spiders that I got out of a pack from the Dollar Tree. I believe it came in a pack of 6. There were 3 that were kind of a medium size, and then these are the smaller ones. And I just stuck my little spider up in the corner. And then this is one of the bat rings that the little kids wear. And I just cut the little ring portion off of the back so that we can use him. And I put him kind of catty corner or sideways there on the side. Then I took this wooden witch hat that is already painted black, put a little bit of glue on the back, and popped it right in the center. I just felt that it needed something there. And that's the end of the first one. I hope that you like this one. For DIY number 2, it's probably the easiest and it's definitely my favorite. I love to do this hack every season. I take battery operated candles and just whichever window clings are my favorites and I stick them on there. Now these window clings came from the Dollar Tree last year, but I just saw these exact same ones the other day, so I know they have them again this year. I love these. Now, if your little window cling is a little bit too long, like this guy was, just cut the bottom part off. You would think that it might make a difference, but it really doesn't. It looks just as good. Since I'm only using 3 of my candles, I chose the little vampire, the Frankenstein, and a witch. And I started to add like some jute cord or something to embellish this. But to be honest with you, it didn't need anything else. This was a big enough statement on its own. And I love these. The third one is another one of my favorites. I had this little tray that I completed around Easter. As you see, I've got the little bunny rabbits on there. And my handles are already completed with some jute cord around them. So we're not going to have to do very much to this. But I did want that bottom portion to be all white. I grabbed my favorite off-white color by DIY Paint, and it's called Beadboard. I'm using a foam brush, that way it'll be so much easier to get right up at the sides of this tray without getting any of that white paint on the areas that are already painted gray. And I just went around doing that and I just gave it one quick coat. I decided to go with this window cling. This one came from the Dollar General for just $1 and I liked the whole scene of this one. So I'm going to pull off the haunted house and I'm going to lay it right down in the very center. Now, a lot of these window clings, you don't even have to use any type of Mod Podge or anything underneath them. But if you find that it slips or you're afraid that it may come up or something, all you have to do is just use a little dab of Mod Podge, or I use the liquid patina, which is by DIY Paint. It's very much like the Mod Podge, it's just a lot thinner. So I am putting down this whole picture here. Pretty much everything except for that witch going across the moon is going to go down on my tray here. I'm going to try out my DIY Paints Old and Gray Barnwood Patina. I've never used this before. However, if you notice where the tray was painted gray and I had already distressed it with the white, there were several little areas where I had got that white paint on there. So I'm just going to go right around the edges of this with this color to try to match up that gray that was there from before. And with this being a gray patina, it's not actually a paint, so it's not going to give like a full coverage like a paint would and cover it up. It's just going to blend it in. I did feel like since I had just painted this piece that I better go ahead and put down some liquid patina. And you'll notice what I like to do is lay out my pattern first. And then when I make sure that everything has room and it's going to go where I want it to go, then I put down my liquid patina. And you'll notice too that I'm not getting every little square inch of the back of these clings. I'm literally just putting down a little dab of that liquid patina because that's all it's going to take to get my cling on to stick. I hope you like this one. I think it turned out adorable. Moving right along to DIY number 4. I know I say every one is my favorite, but my goodness, I like them all. I got this little plaque at the Dollar General for $2 the other day, and I want to make it double-sided. I love what's on the front side of it, but we're just going to add something cute on the back side. I'm going to take my DIY paint in the color Black Velvet and give it one quick coat. Then I'm going to go with this one from the Dollar General. I haven't used any from it yet. And I'm going to use this medium-sized little ghost. And I pulled him off, and I decided he definitely needed just a little bit of liquid patina on the back. So I put some on the back, and I placed him down on my little sign. I'm also going to pull off the word that says boo that goes with him. And after I put a little bit of liquid patina on the back of it, I stuck it down. I grabbed my artisan marker in the color orange, and I'm just going around making little lines, just a little something of interest. I'll do a little line and then 2 dots and continue with my line. I grabbed one of the little wooden witch hats that come in the pack at Dollar Tree. This one was orange and sparkly, and I popped that right down on his head. And then I'm just going to take my ribbon, the one that I got from Walmart the other day, and I'm simply just going to cut it off and put one little straight line right across that bottom. And then I grabbed 2 buttons. I always like to put my buttons one down, the biggest one first, and then one kind of up on the side of it, just for a little added interest. Hope you like this guy. Moving right along into number 5, and we are already halfway finished. I like to buy these little containers. This one came from the thrift store. It's just a little glass spray container. And then these 2, I got both of these at the Dollar General, and they are $1 hand soaps. Now, hand soaps are super easy to peel the labels off of and then put your own window clings on there. And they always look so cute for every holiday. I decided to start off with the liquid soap that was kind of this pinky color. And I'm just going to add this little cat with the tombstone. And it was a little bit too long, so I just trimmed it off. I didn't actually have to add any liquid patina to the back of it. It stuck just excellent since it was plastic. And then on the other side, I wanted to use my little witch that was going across the front of the moon. That way you have a design on both sides. I took the little glass sprayer and I just keep watering these and mist my plants. I'm going to add a little bat to the front of that. And then for the other soap container, I just added a simple little ghost. DIY number 6, I picked up this cheese board on clearance at Walmart. You know Walmart has that section up in the front now where everything's like $5 and under. This was on clearance and I only paid like $1.50 for it. And this is what we're going to work with. I decided to keep this one really simple. I grabbed some of these pumpkins that they're shiny and they look like tinfoil to me. And I put just a little bit of the Mod Podge on the back of it. I did want it to be on half of that area at the bottom where the cheese board is black because I thought that would look cool and it would kind of, make it shine a little bit more. So then I just grabbed this one that says Trick or Treat off of one of the ones that came from Dollar General, and we're just going to stick that right on the top very simply. Then I'm going to grab this orange and black cord. I picked this up at Dollar General for only $1, and I'm just going to wrap it around that top area just a couple of times. I think I wrapped it around maybe about 5 or 6 times, and then I'm going to put a little dab of glue in the back of it and cut it off there. Then the very last thing that I did is grab one of those little bat rings, cut the little ring portion off the back, and stick that on my orange and black cording. These next two will go together, so this will be DIY number 7 and 8. I picked up these 4 wooden spoons at the Dollar General, and I want to say that they were $4, so they were $1 a piece, and they're different sizes. I'm going to make this one very easy. It's just a cute little thing to stick in your kitchen. I grabbed a couple of the bats, and I needed to cut them down a little bit. I didn't like that the spoon was the brown color, and then around these bats it had like an outline. You could see that greenish color, that green blue, and I didn't really like that too much. So I just kind of fussy cutted and cut around that bat as closely as I could. And then I just placed one bat on each of my spoons. I did use a little bit of the liquid patina to hold it down there. Then I just grabbed some of that orange and black cording that I picked up at the Dollar General. I'm going to wrap these all together to make just like a cute little scene to go in the kitchen. So I wrapped it around a couple of times and secured it with a little bit of hot glue. And then I'm going to take this little wooden black witch's hat and stick it right on the top. For the next one, I grabbed this glass jar, and I did pick this glass jar up at the Dollar Tree. It's been a couple of months ago, but I do see different glass jars there from time to time. Now, since it's rounded, it does pose a little bit of an issue when you're trying to put one of these cling wraps on it. So what I like to do is just cut a couple of slits in the cling-on that I'm putting down, and then that way you can lay it down kind of in layers or like in pieces, and it helps it to stick a lot better. Then I just grabbed some of that glow-in-the-dark orange tulle from the Dollar Tree, stuck it down in there, and put my little wooden spoons in there for a cute little display in the kitchen. If you blink, you'll miss this next one. It's just one of the glass vases from the Dollar Tree, and I had previously used it in a DIY and painted that bottom portion with my black velvet. I just popped one of my window clings on that I thought was really cute. I added a little bit of tulle inside of it, and then I'm taking that ribbon that I got from Walmart that I've been using throughout this video, and I place it at the top where that black stops. And I can't find any Halloween florals that aren't tacky looking, so I just added some little picks, some lights, and one of those little bat tree toppers from the Dollar Tree. And I think this is cute. And the very last one, once again, is super quick. I picked these 2 little tins up, and I got these at the end of Christmas last year on clearance at the Dollar General. I only paid about 10 cents for each one. I'm going to pop a little ghost on one and a pumpkin on the other. You just hang these up, and another cute idea would be add lights in these if you wanted to, but I just simply stuck a couple of these in and popped them on the wall. Hey, if you stuck with me through this whole video, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you so much for stopping in and spending a little time with me today. I hope that you enjoyed these window clean DIYs. I know these are very simple and easy, but I wanted even a starting crafter or a child to do these, or even us. Sometimes it's really nice just to slap a window clean on something and call it a day, you know? I hope that you guys enjoyed them. Let me know which one was your very most favorite one. Mine was the candles. And guys, if you did enjoy this video, here's one that has similar content. It's Halloween also, so if you're into the Halloween DIYs, all you have to do is click onto that video and it will take you there when this one's finished. I'll see you in the next one, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.